Welcome to the War Room. This week we've got a main event, two heavyweights. We've got Junior Dos Santos taking on Curtis Razor Blaydes. Ding! Already a Raptor phone's going off. I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? Okay. So, experience against rising prospect. I think that's the best way of framing this. Junior Dos Santos, we know, has been around the UFC for a while. He's been a contender. He's been a champion. I mean, he's a very, very talented fighter. He's an excellent boxer with great takedown defense. We'll come back to takedown defense in a second because it's going to be important in this fight for him. Experience is a big key in this fight for him, especially the experience that he's got against Cain Velasquez. It could be very, very similar to the Cain Velasquez fights, which could be good for him because he's already had a lot of experience there in that range, but could be bad because, he's not always done well in that range. UFC stats have got his takedown defense at 80% effectiveness, which is very high. I mean, especially for someone that's fought Cain Velasquez as many times as he has. So you've got to think that he's going to be leaning on that takedown defense in this fight. Curtis Blaydes is, his confidence in his striking's on the rise, but definitely the place that he wants is a takedown, preferably up against the fence, like he did in his last fight against Abdurakhimov. Smash him up against the fence, make it uncomfortable and claustrophobic, and then start to rain down punches and elbows. Elbows in the Alistair Overeem fight as well. I mean, we know he's got stopping power in that range, and we know how good his wrestling is. And Cain Velasquez has got excellent wrestling, chain wrestling, like the kind of wrestling that you can go from one thing to the next, the same as Daniel Cormier, the same as Khabib. That ability to just slowly dismantle the base of an opponent no matter how much they try and stay on their feet. It's much more of a fundamental mechanical understanding of the human body instead of like techniques, because techniques have an end. You get to the end of a technique chain, whereas if you're a good wrestler in this sense that these guys are, you're able to just continually chase that takedown. And that's where Junior Dos Santos is going to fail. If he's going to fail in this fight, it's going to be after the first few takedown attempts when he's starting to slow down, or where Curtis Blaydes has felt like he's the strongest. He'll attack his weakest takedown defense area, whether that's up against the fence or out in the open or in the clinch. However he sees fit and however he chooses, that'll be where he'll focus most of his wrestling. So really, it's on Junior Dos Santos to figure out how he stays on his feet. He's going to be counter-striking in this fight because I would expect Blaydes to be wanting to push forward and try and use the fence to his advantage. One thing we know about JDS is that he's got great footwork. He's got very light on his feet, and he's very good counter-punching. As people are moving towards him, he's good at finding those openings and hitting and circling off. And then when he gets somebody hurt, that's when his flurries come. And he's a high-volume heavyweight, which it's always a good thing to be a high-volume heavyweight. His conditioning's good. He's used to fighting over 5 rounds. So that this is comfortable territory for JDS. He knows what he's up against in a strong wrestler. It all depends on whether he can hold him off. Whether the rising tide of the new prospects in the heavyweight division, which Curtis Blaydes is he's primarily at the front of, whether he's able to overcome that veteran and get the fight won. It would be a huge win on Curtis Blaydes' record if he does get it, and it really puts him in a good position to start talking about title shots. Because if you look at the run that he's been on, aside from a 45-second loss to Francis Ngannou, which was, that was one of those fights where Mark Goddard stepped in and stopped the fight at the right time, because he'd taken a couple of shots and he was about to take more shots that he didn't need to take. From the fighter's perspective, because it's more almost like a flash knockdown, when you feel like you're conscious even though your body's not responding. They're very frustrating. He was back to his feet in no time. He was complaining about the loss, and 45 seconds is frustrating because you've done a whole training camp and you've not been able to express what you're capable of. Those kind of things happen, especially when you're up against a power puncher like Ngannou. And the thing is as well, we look at JDS's record. He was a minute 11 into the fight when he lost to Ngannou. So we've got to see Ngannou as the step above both of these guys. But we're also wondering whether Curtis Blaydes can step above JDS, and if he can, then that's a big feather in his cap. What else is there to say about this? The only thing I think Curtis Blaydes has to really watch out for, aside from the excellent counter punching of JDS, are the kicks. JDS has got some wild and unexpected kicks. He's very athletic for a heavyweight, and he's especially if he starts to defend a couple of takedowns, the takedown attempts will become a little more desperate, a little more scrambled. He might shoot from further out, and that's when JDS starts to throw knees and kicks and all the kind of things that we've seen him do before. So anyway, fascinating fight. The young against the veteran, and I'm always interested to see whether there's a shift in the heavyweight division, because these young guys are coming up, and Curtis Blaydes is very, very good. All right, enjoy the fights.